This is the Mooncast.
Damn, let's go.
Dude, oh my God. It's so nice to finally meet you, man.
Same, bro.
Yeah.
Where are you located at? You're in Asia, right? Is that where you are? Or where you at?
No, I'm in Bulgaria, bro.
Bulgaria. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So it's nighttime, your time then, huh?
Yeah, it's almost nighttime. Yeah, it's almost 7:00 now.
Damn. Okay, yes. I'm just waking up. So don't mind me, I'm drinking some coffee.
You're in Las Vegas, right?
Yep. Yeah. Born and raised out here, man. So it's a fun time. You ever been?
Yeah, no, I haven't been, but I always wanted to go. But I've been busy. I've been traveling the world for like 10 years now. Like I left the US when I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
How come?
Well, it started with the military. So I was 4 years on the US Army. Did a tour in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yeah. So once I got out, I joined the military to travel. And once I saw how the rest of the world was, I was just more interested in that. So I was doing that for a while. Like I got out of the military, then I moved back to Germany, studied international business, and then stopped doing that. Was working as a manager, quit that, and then just basically gave my entire soul to Web3, like completely. Like once you because what happened with me was I was in the stocks, and then I was trading stocks a lot, and I kept hearing like Bitcoin. This is back in like 2020. So I think you've been in a lot longer than me. I've only been in for like 3 years in the markets for
3
crypto.
years is eternity. 3 years is eternity in crypto, though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But so for me, I kept hearing this thing, Bitcoin, and I was curious. And then next my online broker, they integrated Bitcoin into the online brokerage, and I was like, okay, so what is it? What is this thing? And then so once I went into the Bitcoin white paper, started reading the white paper, then I started going down the rabbit hole of understanding. It's like, wait, what exactly is money? And then I started understanding decentralization versus centralization, and then just got crazier and crazier. And I started understanding NFTs. Started joining these Telegram groups, getting a lot of information. Started connecting with Web3 crypto nerds. It got insane. I basically was So the past bull run just happened, was my first one. But I luckily was able to get in and take some decent level of profits, because I got in 2020, and right before things started really taking off in 2021. So but I learned a lot.
You got in right at the bottom of the bear market, right in the beginning of turning to the bull. So
yeah, I was just out of luck, man. Honestly, it's a good right place, right time. But I learned a lot, and honestly, like I think this space, the way it's going, I see it exponentially scaling a lot of things in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. I just think people haven't realized the tokenization models, gamification models, and how they can be leveraged in their business. You start to see Amazon and Apple and all these different types of companies, these Web2 companies, starting to leverage a little bit of tokenization models. So
yeah, Amazon's launching their own marketplace, I believe, in a month or two. And from what I hear from some of my friends that are working with the Amazon marketplace, are also launching their own blockchain alongside it as well. So you see all of these large corporations will probably have their own private blockchain scheme as well, which is more just like a glorified database. But it's just for, it's just kind of like further validation that the place is here, that the industry is here to stay, even amidst of all the scams and all the craziness that happens. Right?
Yeah.
It's a no man's land. It's a kind of a glorified casino for the most part, but the rate that the space is evolving now comparative to when I got in 2016 is, dude, it's accelerating at an exponential rate. So it's really, really awesome to see.
Yeah, you see all the smart money and a lot of the smartest people in the world are starting to enter the space. I don't know, like if you just look at even I was also heavily into the Cardano ecosystem too as well, and I saw that they're paying a lot of their Haskell devs like $20,000 a month. So it's like I don't know how many Web2 companies are paying that, for the developers. But I think it's just more lucrative, especially what the space is standing for, the decentralization and, these tokenization gamification models. Like, I really, really, really have high hopes for this space. And I think that the main issue, this is why I got into the education business, because I think that's the main issue. I think people lack education. They don't understand nodes. They don't understand staking. They don't understand DeFi. They don't understand metaverse. Like, they don't understand how to set up a wallet properly. They don't understand not your keys, not your crypto. They don't even understand the difference between FTX versus like, a decentralized exchange like a Uniswap. For them, it's like, it's all the same. They just package it all the same. And it's like, there's a clear education gap. And I think we need help to fill in that gap. And also, I think another thing too, as well, is just the onboarding process. I think that's an issue too, because, I tried to explain it to my dad how to like set up a wallet, and he just like, he gave up. Like, he's like, what is MetaMask? I don't get, why is there a fox as the logo? This looks like a video game. Like, what is this?
Yeah, one of the recent EIPs that was passed, I think it's called EIP 4.
The 4337.
Yeah, it's hard to keep some of the numbers intact, but yeah, the idea of just like a account abstraction to just have people create a wallet and operate it just very similar to, just using like Venmo or Cash App or something like that. You want to have that as simplistic as possible, so that you can, have grandma or have, your best friend Steve, who has no idea how to use finance in any sense, is where we're going. It's going to take a little while. When I've been in this, like I said, I've been in this space now, it's 7 years, and when we got in 27, or when I was started becoming very active in 2017, the very beginning, we thought that, by the time we are in the position we are today, we'd have billions of people already in it, but it's scaled a lot slower, because blockchains do have a lot of inefficiencies, right? They're rather and particularly pretty slow comparative to some, centralized companies. Things like Facebook and Google can scale much faster than, things like the Graph, right, which is trying to be like Google, right? Or Lens, which is trying to be a decentralized social media platform. These things are highly inefficient and are going to take a lot of time. So in the meantime, people tend to speculate on things like meme coins, right? It's kind of like one of the narratives that we're seeing right now, because people just want to make money and people want to test out new technologies. It's unfortunate, you do get a lot of the grifters and scammers and fraudulent actors. And I come in close contact with these type of people with the company that I work at Emblem Vault. But I don't think they're going to go away. And, maybe it's kind of this idea of like, they're a feature, not a bug. Right. Maybe it's just, it helps in a sense, it makes the community stronger. And this kind of idea of self-governance that happens in crypto, from things like, using governance tokens to vote on DAOs, to just communities that are able to, point out the scammers and go through on-chain analytics, right? I think most people are familiar with people like Zach XBT, who puts out like all the threads on all the different scammers. So the self-governance has increased quite drastically since I've joined as well, which, they become kind of like the citizen police in essence. Yeah. And that's a beautiful component, because you do not see that happening in the real world at all.
Yeah. No, I think the scamming, though, at the end of the day, it's never going to go. I mean, if you look at the internet, right? I mean, you still get the phishing scams. You still get the people, the emails they try to get you. And it just never goes away. My dad's gotten scammed from, an internet company. He thought it was an internet company. And, he paid the money for the shirt that he wanted and never received the shirt, And so these types of things happen. And I think the main thing, again, is just the education portion of being able to do the screening, And that's why I think a lot of times content, again, this is why I always refer back to content, because a lot of times now, if I have clients or whatever, they go to my content. They want to see my content. They want to see, is this guy a real person? How does he talk? Is he competent? Does he actually know what he's talking about? Where can I find him? If he scams me, how can I take legal action against him? X, Y, and Z. And so I think it's important to do your due diligence as a person in general, instead of just tossing money around. I mean, you see now, if you look now, I mean, are we in a bull run? You know, I mean, you see we got like
we're in the early stages of it. It does feel like this is the beginning of that fourth bull run, so fourth or fifth. I can't even keep count anymore. When you look at the beginning of all the other bull runs, typically it starts with shitcoin trading or altcoin trading. Generally, it's Doge who's the leader, and then what happens with Doge? It pumps, right? Has these like huge volatile swings upwards, and then people take that money, and then it starts getting spread around the ecosystem because people want to take that 10x and then multiply to 100x, right? Then 1000x, and then they want to retire and leave and go away forever. And so this time it happened with Pepe, the Pepe token, where it went from literally zero to $1 billion in 23 days. Fastest financial asset ever to reach $1 billion market cap. So, and that money you're starting to see getting spread around to different types of meme coins that are trading in Ethereum. And then on the other side, I've been hanging around a lot with the Bitcoin NFT ecosystem with ordinals and BRC-20s. And it's also going through a similar renaissance, not drastically quite to the scale of meme coin trading on Ethereum, because there's just a lot more liquidity that exists there. But with BRC-20s specifically, right, they're around $500 million market cap, and people are minting. People are making $10,000 to $100,000 in a week. Writing some of these that are going up 500% in a few days and things like that. So you have to take a little bit more of scalping strategies, as you mentioned. You're a trader too. I started out trading Forex in 2016, and then came across Ethereum summer 2016. So I also have those, some of those skills of leverage trading and margin trading and options and some of these types of ideas. Because we all, at the end of the day, it's funny. When I came into it, the cliche was came for the tech, stayed for the gains. And now I think it's opposite, actually. I think now most people come for the gains and stay for the tech is how it's completely flipped, because most are aware, that you could mint yourself and become a millionaire in a few days, which happens quite often. Unfortunately, it's not me yet, but we all kind of want it. Dude, it's a really fun time, and I would right now, I would be packing my bags for this bull run that's about to happen, right? Or this could just be a bear market rally, typically, right? You write a bull trap, which a lot of people like to say. But this summer, I've made some allocations, mostly into the Bitcoin NFT ecosystem for now, because that's just where my interest is. Just meme coin trading is kind of soulless in essence. Some people like it, right? It's just a game of kind of Ponzi's kind of game, like selling your bags to the next person at a higher price with no utility. And I really
that's literally how it is, though, man.
That's meme coin trading. I do work with like a handful of friends who are like pretty big in like the Pepe ecosystem and meme coins, and there's this like circulating idea right now around this idea of like, it's called Memefi, right? Like financialized memes. And we do promote this, it's kind of like a good conversation of, if memes are the internet's medium of exchange, like for example, NFTs, people sell tokenized memes. The idea of value is changing. And if value is changing because the internet tends to transact through images rather than currencies, how do you build a financial ecosystem around these types of memes? So this idea of like Memefi is emerging, and people are trying to take something like Pepe. It's like, how do you support a meme economy? You have a currency of Pepe, right? You have rare Pepes and all these different Pepes that are NFTs. But what else? Like, is there financial products, or does the meme coins just be propped up by shit posts like forever? Which is also completely possible. But to me, if you want to have some sort of like sustained growth, there needs to be some infrastructure or some meme infrastructure that is built around it. But to what degree it is, who knows?
I actually have an interesting theory about this. I think the landscape of business is going to change. I actually think that businesses Well, this actually ties a little bit back into my content argument too, as well. I think the main thing that you should do is how I recommend people who are trying to start a business or anything now is to leverage either a tokenization model or to put out content for a few years and grow a community. Tokenization model you can leverage to grow that community through marketing, right? And once you have the community and people buy in, then you can decide together with the community on what product or service you want to launch. And I think this is actually a new form of business that hasn't been seen before, or we haven't realized the potential yet of it. But I don't know what you think about this theory, but I think this is potentially something that we can see more common in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, in 2017, so when crypto first started, it was all about Bitcoin. And so some of my background too, just to put some information out there. I've been in the space since 2016. I got into NFTs full time around 2021. And my entrance into NFTs was this idea of like historical NFTs. There was this thing called the Mooncat rediscovery where when NFTs started blowing up in 2021, some individuals came across a contract called Mooncats, which was created right after CryptoPunks in 2017. It was 25,000 pixelated cats, and 5,000 of them had been claimed. 20,000 of these had not. And back in 2017, when NFTs were kind of like in this early emergence period, everything was generally for free. CryptoPunks were claimed for free. Mooncats were claimed for free. KO cards were like $1. CryptoKitties were essentially free. So all the Ether rocks were essentially free. And at the time, Mooncats, when they were found in March of 2021, they were considered the second oldest NFT on Ethereum. And this really piqued my interest and caught my attention. I used to own an antique store out here in Las Vegas. It was my first business in 2017. My father had done things like Storage Wars and Antique Hunters and all this different stuff. And so that captured my attention, and I really decided to dive into that little crevice of the internet of NFTs called essentially just like digital antiquities. And so from there, I started doing all this different research, participating in this like NFT archaeology movement. And so I got to learn a lot about history and learning that, you know, NFTs go all the way back to actually 2011. And when you start dabbling in all these different blockchains on like Namecoin in 2011, early Bitcoin NFTs in 2014, Dogecoin NFTs in 2014, et cetera, you start seeing all these different trends that emerge. And they happen particularly the same on every blockchain, and maybe just like a little bit of a variety of a way. And what I'm getting at this is when crypto first started, it was all about Bitcoin. And then Namecoin was the second altcoin that popped up in 2011. And so in those early days, it was Bitcoin. And then when Ethereum came out and the whole ICO boom started happening in 2017, then it became blockchain, not Bitcoin. And now, and during that time when it was blockchain, not Bitcoin, there's this idea of tokenization and tokenize everything. We're going to tokenize everything, right? We're going to put DentaCoin popped up, right? We're putting the dental registries on the blockchain, right? We're putting whatever on the blockchain. And it faded for a while. And then it felt like then it became back to Bitcoin, not blockchain in essence, right? And this is where you kind of got this like Bitcoin maximalist culture. And with NFTs emerging, then I think it just like reignited that imagination all over again. Then it was like, no, we're going to tokenize everything all over again. And I think through the empowerment of NFTs with this idea of non-fungibility and being able to assign tokenized or tokenization to things that are not currency denominated is unlocking the true potential of crypto. And I do think that there are going to be tokenized models in most future businesses, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, like you'd said. And we're starting to see this a little bit now. I mean, I live out in Las Vegas, and I had worked with the Gaming Control Board, City of Las Vegas, UNLV, which is the university out here, about trying to figure out ways for it to add tokenized models into, you know, the casino industry, the educational models and things like that. And we had tried different things. We had done like a Jabberwockies, ticketing NFT event experience at MGM. At Circa, they had done a Vegas Vicky NFT project, which is just kind of like a weekend trip. We just saw Stations Casino recently out here, just added an NFT to their casino rewards, where you basically put this NFT, I think it's called like Station Charms or something like that. And the more that you gamble, the more your rewards are multiplied, so that you can get like better comps and different things like that. And same with Starbucks, right? We see Starbucks with their Odyssey project is doing NFTs, right? They're just basically taking what they have already of like a reward system or a loyalty system, and they're just putting it on the blockchain, which to me, I think is like the more probable outcome of tokenizing either real world assets or adding tokenized models into businesses. Because a lot of these things that exist already, you can literally just move to a blockchain and create a more transparent and maybe frictionless experience for your users already. And it's much different than coming in and trying to propose like a whole new tokenized business model and create it, because most people don't really understand it. Reddit actually did a really good job of adding blockchain to their user experience with their Reddit avatars. And you don't even realize that they are blockchains. Like I had created an avatar, and then when that first boom happened of Reddit NFTs, I didn't realize that it was on Polygon. I was like, oh, I own some. I made some of these. I didn't even know that it was I didn't even know that it was on Polygon. So those kind of experiences is exactly what we need to onboard the future, multiple billions of people into the space. And to add tokenized models, I think it's going to come down to whatever type of specific business that you're operating. If you're a corporation like Amazon, it's going to be easier to just like take things that you have already and tokenize it. And then maybe people like ourselves who are in crypto, who are trying to, create a business around what we're doing, right? Whether we're capital allocators or working for an infrastructure company, we already start with tokenization first and then try to build a business model second. Whereas the opposite for a lot of these corporations is going to be take their current business model, find out where the tokenization method is, and then implement it that way.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I had a couple interesting theories about that too, as well, like examples in which use cases that NFTs could be leveraged, in, like, for instance, if you look at YouTube, right? Say I'm grossing, let's say like $100,000 in Google AdSense revenue every single year, and I want to scale faster. What I could do is maybe issue out maybe like, let's say 1,000 NFTs, right? And I issue that out to the community buys it. And when the community buys it, why would they buy it? Well, I'm maybe issuing like a rev share model, right? So now I'm like running and operating like a business where I'm basically doing monthly reports of showing you how much Google AdSense I'm making. And then I'm taking 10% of that. And then I'm like, let's say swapping it into ETH or whatever. And then I'm distributing that in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion to the token holders, right? And why would they, what would be the benefit for me is they would be more incentivized to like, share, comment my content, to scale my content, because it gets them more revenue, and then my content will scale more. And so over the course of time, and then you have a loyal fan base of 1,000 people, of like stormtroopers that like, wouldn't want to leave you, at any point in time, because they own the NFT. Then the NFT becomes more valuable as the revenue appreciates over the course of time. So I think this is and also you have access to global liquidity. That's the main thing too, as well, because there's no like KYC and stuff. It's just like, hey, anyone can have access to ETH, anyone can have access to Matic, whatever. And so this is like basically one of the models that I was thinking about too, as well. Also, as well, if you look at the emergence of artificial intelligence, right? That's another thing that's huge for me, because I'm seeing that as you see the deep fakes that are coming out right now, and so I'm saying, okay, well, how are we going to verify that? Well, we can leverage the blockchain, and so it could serve as a catalyst actually to increase the exponentially scale the advancement of blockchain technology and the adoption of blockchain technology, just because of the fact that, I don't know, a 10-year-old in, Iran can make a video of Joe Biden talking to, President Putin about something, but it's not actually real, because we're going to get to that point. And so how do we verify that something's real and not? We're going to have to encrypt it on chain, right? I mean, if there's any other viable solution, let me know. But I think that this is going to serve as a catalyst actually to increase the adoption of blockchain technology. But let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Are you familiar with who Sam Altman is?
No.
He's the founder of OpenAI, which is
yes. The name was very familiar. Yeah. Him and
so he's trying to tackle this with, it's pretty dystopic, the project, when you look at it kind of frontward facing. WorldCoin, they launched this in 2020. And they
Yes, yes, yes.
tackle this exact issue is when AI takes over, or we'll say when AI is more integrated into society, how do you know that the person is real on the other side? And so their solution to this is a retina scanned database of human profiles, which are linked to, I guess, all of your different accounts across the internet through the blockchain. And it sounds dystopic, right? Because you're like, oh wow, I've seen this playbook before, right? We've seen 23andMe sell people's DNA data, right? After you're trying to figure out who your long lost sister is. We've seen Facebook manipulate data, right? All the tech companies manipulate data, even sell it, right, to the highest bidder in terms of the Cambridge Analytica thing, right, to sway elections. So if this company who co-founded, right, the AI is to take over in this example, what are they going to do with all my retinas, right? With all the retina scanned in a database, right? That can completely be manipulated, especially on a blockchain of some sort. I don't think they've put out like all the technicals to it, if it's private, public, or whatever the situation is. But that's one solution, and people are really trying to think through this of how do you combat a world where in 20 years the majority of your interactions are going to be with an AI of some sort, whether it's an AI bot form, right, commenting on or replying to all your Twitter posts, to a deep fake that's trying to manipulate you, to probably AI social media influencers that, right, in 10 years from now, if I go on a guest show, could literally just be an AI interviewer, right? That's just has a 3D avatar model and looks like a human, but it's not, and talks exactly like one as well. and from there, they know specifically what to ask, because they can go through my entire internet history. They can listen to all the different podcast episodes, the transcripts, and be able to output the best questions. And so does that degrade the experience, right? Or does that improve society? Because now you're just kind of getting straight to the point. It's quite terrifying to think about. It's also too quite alleviating to know that eventually everyone's just gonna cut through all the bullshit, because you're just talking to an AI. Whether I don't think it's like a general AI. I think general AI is kind of pretty far away from what people are terrified of. Mm-hmm. But these AIs that are created specifically for a few different objectives, we just get to cut through all the fluff, and that's very exciting as well. But the deep fake stuff is, of course, terrifying. But man, yeah, the future, most people, you don't know what's going to be real, what's not. So trying to tackle that problem is going to be a very lucrative opportunity for whoever can figure that out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, and I think that people they haven't really understood the effect of this, because you have like an open software that's out that anyone can get access to and get information from all the data sets that's ever been, that exist in human history, and we've never had something like that. And then you can prompt it and give it commands, and it automatically just squirts out whatever you need, which is absolutely insane. And I look at it from the perspective of every single vertical I think will be affected. If you look at even like, for instance, the venture capital industry, I think a lot of businesses are gonna, like, if you want to, because you're gonna be able to cut a lot of cost, right? Because you'll be able to have eventually like a virtual assistant is what I'm thinking. And imagine you'll be able to just give it prompts and commands like, hey, build a SaaS eventually, and then it just boop, 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 boop. And then, build the front end. I want the front end like this. No, move this over here. And it's just basically, I think we'll get to that point where it's just moving everything around for you. And so it literally lowers. So I think it won't be out of the realm of possibility where we'll see a 15-year-old in, I don't know, Kenya, becoming some kind of like multi-millionaire, building something, basically just leveraging AI. I think we'll get to that point where, because the operational costs are getting less and less, so valuations will eventually have to go down. You look at education too as well. The expenses are going to go to zero, I think, right? Because what is the point of going to school when the AI can just basically give me the curriculum that I need? Yep. What is the point? Like, oh, I need a law. Give me all the information I need to pass the bar. boop, 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 boop. And then you just go ahead, study the information. You say, put it on a 10-week time span. You literally can prompt it to do anything. And so it'll give you all the requisite data that you need. And you can leverage that data to be able to facilitate the thing that you need in real life. And so, yeah, man, it's a very, very, for me, I'm not scared. I'm actually like, I'm looking for ways to actually capitalize, you know?
That's the right, it's exactly the right idea to have. Those who have the ability and I guess the willingness to tie in AI and utilize it to create a more efficient product or project for whatever you're working on are going to be the ones who win. It's the same thing that happened with the mobile wave. Those who are able to, use the smartphone and apps to their advantage, especially the early app days. Same with the internet. It's the same that time of stuff that happens with every technology. Yeah. And yes, a lot of humans are going to be displaced from their jobs, but it's going to also create a lot of new jobs. I think creativity is going to have a huge premium in the future, maybe even in the immediate future. You have new jobs popping up, right? Like a prompt person on the internet, especially even in crypto, right? There's a bunch of jobs that didn't exist 3-4 years ago. Things like community managers, right? Things like smart contract dev work is increasing. Even some of our devs on our own team at Emblem use ChatGPT to write code too, right? It's almost like we have 2 or 3 people, and we're paying minimum wage. We're paying, what is it, $50 a month for ChatGPT, something like that. Well, a lot of these teams too, you need less capital actually to scale, because you don't have to pay for a lot of the different jobs or a lot of the dev work. But what you do need then is, if you are operating on a small team, like where we are, we're a pretty small team who has hundreds of millions of dollars in assets and vaults. You have to have a creative direction of where to take it. You have to be able to diagnose how communities are responding to you, and then use that creative direction to put into ChatGPT or to whatever coding tools that you're using to help build those types of models. So things like marketing and branding are probably going to become even more expensive, because that trust value is going to increase, because you don't know if you're talking to an AI, if you're talking to a human, and just knowing that person's a human and creative, and that you can have conversations like this, right? Or I could go meet them in person or them in person. You will pay more for that type of stuff. Things like consulting probably will increase. Although I know a lot of people think that those types of businesses are going to be displaced. If there's a human interaction with it, and there's creativity and branding and marketing, it's going to increase quite drastically. So I'm excited for it. I'm trying to find ways to use AI. Right now, I mostly just use it for just simple stuff. I know I'm not using it to the best of my ability. Generally for mostly proofreading, and just kind of like looking up different types of information. But some of the things that you see online are crazy. Trading, right? Trading ideas, trading strategy. Coding.
That's a great segue, because actually I'm going to potentially partner with a AI trading bot software that someone built, right? And actually I'm releasing a podcast on Monday in regards to that. It makes a minimum of 3% returns monthly, 3 to 6% returns, but minimum 3% monthly. And it's powered by artificial intelligence. And they've been around since 2020. And so they leverage the software and they also have access to 14 API plugins for different centralized exchanges as well. And so they're actually a non-custodial software, right? And so you deploy your capital into a centralized exchange, and then you give it the API the access to trade, right? And then they're able to do trades for you, and then they invoice you every single month. So it's a super interesting business model. And so I'm going to test it out first to see how it goes, how it works, and stuff like that. But I think we're going to see a lot more of this, and this is going to be more prevalent. So then I wonder, like, what's going to happen to the hedge funds if someone can just build a software, leverage the AI to be able to build the software to trade better than a human can, judge market sentiments, track all the different reporting metrics that you need, and be able to facilitate high levels of returns. Then what is the point of having, a hedge fund? So much verticals are going to be affected from it, and it's interesting, man. So, but yeah, it's great that you mentioned that. And also I wanted to ask you too, as well, about, because you talked about BRC-20, right? And so I haven't delved too much into it, right? But I had an interesting theory, anyways, because of the emergence of what's there? BRC-20. There's like what SRC-20. I think like ORC-20. There's like all these different 20s popping up, and so I had an interesting theory because now if you see we're in a air quotations bear market, right? And you see the fees of Bitcoin going up, right? And we're not even the volume isn't what it could be optimized at during the bull run. So my theory in terms of my investment thesis is that you're going to see basically Bitcoin's going to be unusable at layer 1. And I think that I'm looking into like Stacks, looking into Liquid, looking into Mint Layer, these layer 2 sidechain scaling solutions. And I'm seeing that as potentially suitable investment opportunities, but I don't know how you're looking at that, because I think people are going to have to start doing things off chain, going to these layer 2s and then I'm selling and then doing the transaction there and then selling it on the Bitcoin layer 1. But I don't know how you're basically looking at it from that perspective, that you think that those would be maybe suitable alternatives, to the situation that's happening now.
The Bitcoin ecosystem is innovating at rapid pace. It's quite wild to watch how ordinals got onto the scene. I think in December is when it was deployed. I had actually talked with Casey, who is the founder of Ordinals, me, Adam McBride, and Leonidas. We had a spaces with Casey Rodemar in August of last year, like very early. And when we had talked with him, we were just talking about this idea of like rare sat hunting, like finding sats from 2009, from the earliest blocks, and from like a collector's mentality, kind of just collecting it. I'm a big collector. I'm not as much of a trader as I used to be, although I'm getting back into it through BRC-20, which we'll get into. And he never discussed the idea of inscriptions, of like putting arbitrary data up to 4 megabytes inside of blocks and creating NFTs. I just thought like collecting old sats was cool. And so when the inscriptions started popping off in January, I was like, oh my God, this is insane, right? Like what's the use case? And eventually it like doesn't even matter. I didn't even inscribe anything, right? It's like you had to have a whole full node and you had to have all this different stuff to it, right? I'm not a dev, but I can understand like all the concepts and get to the point for most things. And so the ordinals explosion happened. You had these like sub 10Ks and different kinds of things. And then it kind of cooled off for about 3 weeks to a month. And then BRC-20s popped up. And I was like, so you had NFTs now, and now you're taking these sats and you're creating fungible tokens. In essence, it's kind of archaic how it actually all works. But there's individuals who are now building on top of it. I'm actually working with some friends who are kind of trying to build a product to it. This idea of layer 1 DeFi on Bitcoin is populating, and it seems like it's going to become a reality. You have people trying to build like borrowing and lending platforms. You're trying to have them build AMMs and DEXs and
You think it can happen at layer 1?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's some trade-offs to it. So with BRC-20, you have on-chain assets, because what you're doing is you're just literally just putting a text file inside of a sat, which is a JSON, right? And so it's human readable. People can understand what it is, as long as you just understand like kind of the format for it. So what individuals are doing now is you have on-chain assets, and people are building something called an indexer. And an indexer is basically just like a rule set to execute contracts or to execute types of commands. And what an indexer essentially is almost like a private blockchain, where it's just an arbitrary set of rules so that these platforms and these marketplaces like Unisat, for example, can follow these and know like when a transfer function is released, when something is bought and sold, etc. And so now you have this point of centralization that's being created on top of these decentralized assets that are on chain on layer 1. And so there's a big movement now of like trying to create these decentralized indexers. The issue becomes, though, is that if you are going to engage in this like layer 1 Bitcoin DeFi, which I recently just created like a whole spreadsheet of like different assets of BRC-20s of people trying to do different types of things. You have like launch pads and all kinds of different stuff. And it really is mimicking DeFi summer of 2020. And the ordinals craze was really mimicking, NFT summer in 2021. And they're both just happening at such fast, rapid rates. And it's because everyone realizes the gigantic opportunity that exists because Bitcoin's market cap is literally $500 billion or 600 or whatever it is. And if you're getting in on the ground floor of that and you can manage to get some of these Bitcoin whales to put up some of this capital that they've been sitting on, right? $500 million, $2 billion, whatever it is, that is going to make a lot of people very rich, like very, very rich.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want layer one, right? Because there is this decentralization. It can't be, right? It can't be DMCA'd on OpenSea, right? If you go put like a Bitcoin Punk, right? Bitcoin Punks are like one of the popular collections. You go take a Bitcoin Punk and you go inscribe it. It can't be taken down. Like OpenSea can go and DMCA assets, right? Because of trademark stuff. Actually, at Emblem Vault where I work, we actually just had yesterday, I think 2,000 Bitcoin apes were actually DMCA'd from our collection. So they're censored, right? I mean, you can still go trade them on LooksRare, right? Which is decentralized. You can still go find different ways to do this. But that can't happen on Bitcoin. It's too decentralized. There's no governing body to it. It can, in essence, if they go after the indexers, right, which creates another type of kind of attack vector. But this idea of Bitcoin DeFi and BRC-20s, it's also kind of mimicking the ICO model of 20. It's starting to mimic the ICO model of 2017, where people are now like kind of pre-inscribing the entire supply and then doing like a whitelist and selling and stuff. So there's like 3 or 4 different narratives that have happened in crypto already that are all just kind of combined in this whole Bitcoin ecosystem. And it's all just happened in 5 months, which is quite crazy. BRC-20 just started in March. So it's really only been 2 months. And now you got the centralized exchanges, like mostly the Asian influenced centralized exchanges like Binance, OKX, and Huobi are all kind of really just hopping into this game and going because Bitcoin has a huge Asian community. I mean, the earliest days started in China, right, with the whole China ban stuff. And that's where the minor centralization was for a while. Still might be partly there. But I think this is the biggest opportunity for everyone. And I'm very bullish on it. And I've been getting back and, putting my trading boots back on. From the fungible standpoint, I kind of got away from it for the last year when everything kind of melted down, and really just going and applying a bunch of these different strategies to it. And it's worked out pretty well so far. The trading volume is still quite low, and people are building things like you're talking about layer 2s, stacks. And now there's something called like this Alex bridge, which I've been dabbling in, which is a stacks L2 bridge where you could take like Tether from Ethereum, you bridge it over, they give you synthetic asset of SUSDT, and then they built a BRC-20 DEX where you can now go take like Tether, right? You're moving liquidity over and then go trade, and they're trying to create these more efficient and liquid markets. But it is being bifurcated. BRC-20s are being bifurcated across many different L2s, and then you have L1, and now you have centralized exchanges that are also trading it. So that creates an immense amount of opportunity. And as a trader, some of the biggest opportunities is actually arbitrage opportunities because they become quite drastic in crypto. SBF claims he made the majority of his money through the thing called the chemistry premium in 2021 or 2017, right? Trading that 15% spread from America to India and just making boatloads of money. Whether he actually did it or not, who knows, right at this point. But these kind of arbitrage opportunities are now starting to pop up. And so you get these arbitrage opportunities, right? You're getting more of the quantitative type traders, right? That are just trading P&Ls and numbers, and they don't really care much about the assets itself. So huge opportunity, man. I highly recommend. It's quite quick, chaotic, and it resembles the early days of ICO trading as well, because there's just not a lot of information out there. So you really have to go into Twitter, look at recent tweets. You have to go into the Discords, right? You have to create your own types of DYOR research with simple things like spreadsheets and things like that to really find out where the opportunities are.
Yeah, for sure. as far as the decentralized applications goes, like on top of the layer one, for me, I kind of a little bit of contrarian, a little bit of a skeptic, because I see the scalability issues now, in regards to the trading volume and everything. So I'm like, what does this look like during a bull run? When Bitcoin's over 100K, everything's pumping, meme coins are pumping, BRC tokens are pumping. So it's like, could this, how long is it going to take me to facilitate a transaction? Is it going to take me a day, 2 days? How much is that going to cost? Does it then make sense to leverage the decentralized application at the base layer? Or, do I port it over to an L2 and then just use the Bitcoin base layer as a settlement layer? It's just one of those like things that I guess we won't know until, it's stress test, because we're not certain right now. But I do agree with you. I'm going to delve into more BRC-20 because obviously I missed the first wave of the boat, the 200Xs, the 800Xs, and so on, the crazy stuff that was pumping earlier because I was super, super busy. But now, I'm seeing the excitement and everything starting to shift towards there. I feel like it could be probably the biggest sleeper, for the next bull run, where we might have a couple of these tokens pump into the top 50, maybe even top 20 in market capitalization.
Especially right now. So Ordi is the number one BRC-20, and it's very similar to like how crypto or Bitcoin started as well. Bitcoin, when I got into crypto, Bitcoin was like 90. I think Bitcoin dominance was like 90%, 92% or something like that. Now down to around 30 or 40. Ordi is literally the same thing. It's like 70 or 80% of the entire BRC-20 market cap. And the only reason why it is because it was the first one. It was one that was created by Domo, who was the one who created the BRC-20 standard. So outside of that, like you see the trading volume of the one tokens number 2 through, I think they're at like 20,000 BRC-20s that have been created or something. And the trading volume of these is literally 6 figures, maybe even some of these are even less, maybe like $20,000, 30,000. So the market cap for a lot of these are literally 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. So if you want that 800X, right? If they're going to get to the top 50 in essence, I think the market cap for Ordi right now is $300 million, which would put it somewhere in the top 100. These other ones, right? If you get something that's $1 million market cap and you write it up to $400 million market cap to where Ordi is, right? That's a 400X right there from your initial investments. And there's going to be a lot of those opportunities. And I'm trying to identify which ones I think those are. It started out with a bunch of meme coins. You had things like Meme and Pepe and I forget what are Sheeb and just the standard Shint and Pizza and all these long. But the utility ones are the ones that I think are going to have some legs. Of course, there's meme coin trading is always going to be a thing, and it's always a gamble. I mean, it's all a gamble, but the ones who are trying to put out projects, I think, are the ones to go for. So I've hit a few so far that I've really started diving into, and just trying to really dive into the community and understand it all. But I don't think it's too late. I mean, the whole BRC-20 is going through a correction right now. I think it's about 60% has been wiped off its total market cap. I think it hit over $1 billion at one point. Now it's down to like 400 million. But right now is like a good time. It's just that this BRC-20 and ordinals is growing at exponential rates. The whole ICO bubble and stuff took like, a year and a half. The NFT bull run was a year and a half. These are happening literally in like 2-month installments. Those like gains are happening. And right now it's kind of moving back and forth. Started with ordinals and NFT, or started with digital artifacts, are called. So started with digital artifacts, then it moved over to BRC-20. Now you got the digital artifacts again are pumping, right? So everyone's like, oh, maybe it goes back to BRC-20. You're also seeing these new standards that you said with like SRC-20. I just had Mike in space on my podcast, who's the creator of the Stamps protocol. And right, so you're starting to see a lot more attention to SRC-20 because people are like, oh, right, same idea, just go down the chain. There's LTC-20, which is the same thing for Litecoin. You also have DRC-20 now for Dogecoin. So and I've dabbled in a lot of those. I have some like sub 1,000 Litecoin inscriptions. I inscribed some DRC-20s. It's just the infrastructure is the key missing piece there. those communities on Litecoin and Dogecoin that are doing the kind of same thing, there's less capital, much less people. And the big issue with Litecoin is they don't have like a functioning wallet. The ones with Dogecoin is there's limitations to the technical capabilities because it doesn't have SegWit or Taproot. So I think most people are logically thinking stamps is kind of like the next move with SRC-20 and the different component for your users. Basically what stamps are is that you're inscribing data into the UTXO set. So actually like the transaction itself, so that it can never be pruned. And what that means is the fear, and you're kind of starting to see this already in some of the like Bitcoin Maxi camps with inscriptions. What you're doing is you're opening up a SAT and you're using Taproot, which is a recent Bitcoin upgrade, to basically put data inside of it. But what can happen is this idea of pruning, whereas like the node operators can decide to just like not accept that transaction or just wipe the data off of the nodes. So basically out of the history. So the fear is like as gas fees continue to increase, then maxis or the node operators themselves are just going to have to eventually just wipe out data, because right now to download a node is like 600 gigabytes, something like that. It's crazy, right? It's going to take up like your whole computer data storage. So if this continues to grow, there's going to have to be trade-offs. People are going to have to not accept certain types of data into their nodes. And so they feel that ordinals are going to be the one to go. So Stamps found this way to actually permanently put the data in an UTXO, which is actually like the transaction of Bitcoin itself. And it basically like goes into shards, and then you can kind of like reconfigure it later. It's a little bit more expensive on the gas. And it's cool. I actually was kind of on the ground floor of the stamp stuff and like made some stamps in the like sub 200, sub 300. So like there was literally like 10 people in this Telegram group at the time that I had got in. And I don't know, but I do think like SRC-20, I don't know what the utility is unless it kind of follows the same models, is interesting. But those two, yeah, definitely are the ones to watch.
Yeah. Where are you storing your coins? Ledger?
Yes, it was Ledger. Yeah, I've been following that whole situation unfold over the last few days. Honestly, not surprised by it in any essence. The most secure thing you should do is probably have a paper wallet. If you really want to go to the old school, put yourself on a paper wallet and go hide it somewhere, right? Whether you're doing it safe or grandma's house or putting it in a bank or safety deposit box, split into 3 of them. There's a lot of different methods you could do. And so there's always going to be trade-offs. Did Ledger like screw themselves? Probably. Am I buying other hardware wallets? I have multiple hardware wallets from multiple companies. So I'm always trying to try them out. So it's never important to just put it all into one place. Always spread it into different hardware wallets or paper wallets or these different types of methods of storage. They fucked themselves. Yeah.
I think the only way that they can unfuck themselves is if they go open source completely.
Yeah, but once you do that, then you kind of remove the proprietary technology, the owners, and you basically wipe out your equity, in all of that sense. That's kind of like a similar idea that happens, or a discussion that we have at Emblem Vault, because we are partially closed source from the Emblem or from the Vault creation perspective, but the contracts are open source, and a lot of people want open source, but they don't know actually what it means. Or people want decentralization. They want fully decentralized products, but they don't actually know what that means. People just want you to open source it and call it a day. It's generally not that easy. I'll use Emblem Vault just because I work there as a team member. We have right now 45,000 vaults. There's about 45,000 ETH that's been traded. And there's probably somewhere of mid 8 figures in these vaults, right? That is stored.
Can you just backtrack a little bit? I don't want to interrupt you, but just what is Emblem Wallet like for the audience? What is the actual value proposition?
So the Emblem Vault, it's been around for a little while. It started out actually on Bitcoin in 2016 and moved to Ethereum in 2019. It's a way to facilitate trading across blockchains without a bridge or wrapping. So what I mean by that is
like ThorChain.
Kind of. This is more of a technology itself, or a tool. So what you do is there's an NFT. It's an ERC-721, and it has a deposit address for 12 different blockchains inside of it. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Litecoin, blah, 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 all the way down the board. And what you could do is you could send a Bitcoin NFT, whether it's on Counterparty or an ordinal or a stamp or whatever, because it acts just as a wallet. You can send those assets in here or into the vault, and then you mint the vault. And now you have basically a Bitcoin NFT, or we'll say an ordinal, inside of an ERC-721 token, which is just like a bunch of wallet addresses. So what you're basically doing is trading the private keys to that ordinal. And you could sell it on OpenSea. So a lot of users went and realized this during the bull run. We'll go back to 2021. The Rare Pepe community, which is one of the earliest crypto art projects that started on Bitcoin in 2016 to 2018, is the first real Pepe project, kind of like the birth of decentralized crypto art. Users saw this bull run happening. They knew all the liquidity was on Ethereum. The ecosystem of Bitcoin NFT trading is quite inefficient. It's getting much better, but 2 years ago, using Xchain is just like a real big pain in the ass to do. So they're taking these rare Pepes, putting them individually inside of a vault, and then selling them on OpenSea for Ethereum. And so in the matter of like 2 weeks, you saw Rare Pepe put up about like 20,000 ETH in volume in September and August. And this is when Ethereum was, I don't know, $4,000 or something like that. So lots of volume was going through. And now it's grown to just like how it be home to basically anything that's not an Ethereum NFT, or excuse me, anything that's basically not an EVM compatible NFT. So things on Dogecoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin, Namecoin, etc. Cardano, you can. We don't have Cardano integrated yet, but you can essentially do that. We want to add more support. We're just kind of like all over the place right now doing so many things. And yeah, you could take your, so for example, we'll use the recent one, Bitcoin Punks, right? Bitcoin Punks is it's literally just all 10,000 or crypto punks just inscribed on Bitcoin. When the ordinals movement blew up in February, what was happening was there was no wallet infrastructure, lack of wallet infrastructure, lack of liquidity. So the Bitcoin Punks community was putting their punks in vaults and then selling them on OpenSea. And you saw about 3,000 ETH in volume in like a weekend from this, because people are just like accustomed to trading on Ethereum. They have been. I think that's always going to be the most liquid market. It's always going to have pretty frictionless trading because of smart contract functionality, which doesn't exist on Bitcoin. And we get these like bursts of waves. Stamps also use Emblem vaults, right? Just more liquidity. They kind of use it until the infrastructure improves or liquidity improves, in essence of that. So at Emblem Vault, forgot where I was actually going with this.
To sum it all up, Emblem Vault is just a way for you to be able to trade and get the liquidity that you need.
Yeah, yeah, so it's a pretty big multi-chain tool. It's also deployed on Polygon and on Binance Smart Chain. So you could go take your Bitcoin Punk, go sell it on Polygon, go sell it on Binance Smart Chain. And some people prefer those because there's a low gas environment, as we were talking about gas fees. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, the Bitcoin miner fee, sats per VByte, was around 500, while the meme coin trading was happening on Ethereum, and the gas fees on Ethereum were 200. So the fees were actually double what it was on Ethereum, which was 200 gas fees already ridiculous, right? So 500, I was like, what the hell? So users in that situation, they'll go sell their stuff on like Polygon or on Binance, where gas fees are literally pretty much non-existent in that type of essence. So I've been at Emblem Vault since November. And I get to, the cool part of this is you get to be at the forefront and kind of in the frontier of whatever the emerging technology is. So that's how I dove really deep into ordinals, although I was aware of them before they blew up, is because we have to provide this type of like infrastructure and technology for them. So you're literally in the trenches talking with them, trying to figure out what the situation is, what's wrong with the code, identifying all the different issues, and really just guiding people. If you go on like the Emblem Vault YouTube page, I've put out literally probably 30 tutorial videos and Medium posts just of like trying to explain how all this different stuff works. And this is where I spend most of my time now. Full-time employee there. I've been there for about almost 7 months now. It's been quite a wild ride, but it's also one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on a multi-chain future. In the ordinal space, I've noticed, and maybe it's because I work on the back end and talk with all these different teams. You have a convergence of ETH community, Stacks community, Bitcoin community, and the Bitcoin SV community converging together to build products. And those who are trading ordinals and BRC-20 are generally coming from a different chain. And so they have no problem stepping outside of that Bitcoin maximalist camp and using Ethereum to trade, or going to use Stacks for the L2 for less gas fees. They have no problem with that. And I think that's where the future is going. Is it's not going to be Bitcoin only. It's going to be blockchain and Bitcoin, or Bitcoin and blockchain, right? Completely different of how it was before. And multi-chain, just super, super bullish on that. And it comes down to like one of our mottos at Emblem is meet collectors where they are, or meet traders where they are. Some people are just much more comfortable trading on Solana and they don't want to go to Bitcoin, but they would like to buy Bitcoin NFTs. So we're trying to build tools so you could take the Bitcoin NFTs right to Solana, so that you can kind of meet them there, and then they can trade and facilitate trading in their most comfortable habitat or ecosystem. But we know I'm pretty confident though that Ethereum is probably going to be the most liquid market when it comes to NFTs. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Most Bitcoin NFT community members are more collectors than they are traders. I know there is trading, but you have a technology called like PSBTs, partially signed Bitcoin transactions, which allows you to trade at a more rapid pace. But there still is always going to be limitations because of the simplicity of Bitcoin itself. And that's where you get the trade-off to Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain or Polygon or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting because I'm also a firm believer that interoperability is the future. I'm looking at stuff like Cosmos. I'm huge into the Cosmos and Cosmos ecosystem, what they're building there. And I think that this crypto tribalism, I just don't get it. Maybe because I'm, you've been in much longer than me. Has this always existed? When did it start? Could you just maybe walk me through the history of it? Because I'm just like, why are people like in love with their bags? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. If you could maybe break it down to me a little bit.
There's always been tribalism. I think there always will be. Internet tribalism is a thing. I mean, even if you go to some of the popular social platforms like 4chan and Reddit and even Twitter and Facebook, a lot of these people are very territorial over their identities, their communities, right? Their belonging. Right, there's so many jokes about Reddit mods becoming territorial and just censoring people, different things like that. And now you take that idea and then you financially incentivize people to be territorial, right, to pump their bags, right, or to be protective. And it's this weird mix of first incentives, financialization, and then philosophical and ideological beliefs. The most pure Bitcoin maximalists, right? They believe that everything's a shitcoin, and they're probably right. Most of them are, but they believe Bitcoin is pure. It represents like a lot of their political beliefs. It represents like their ways of life and living, and it's really hard to kind of pull that out from them and extrapolate it into other ideas. So, especially, I think in crypto too, getting in early is a huge component of territorialism. If you get in super early, you feel like you're on the ground floor of something, and it continues to grow and grow, right? You're just going to continually market that type of product so that, you can get rich. And it's kind of the same idea when you follow or you start listening to a podcast very early, right? Or you find a new social media platform like TikTok. If you got in TikTok early and you grow with it, you have this like sense of belonging, but you have this sense of ownership, because also as the platform grows, right, the attention grows on your account. or my podcaster. I started watching Joe Rogan pretty early. I think it was around like episode like 400 or something like that. And so I still listen to him, not as much as I used to, but it felt like I grew with Joe like that entire time because he was growing. I was getting, entertainment, information, sense of belonging. And so now let's take that type of idea and move it to crypto. Bitcoin started in 2009. Use cases didn't really exist. 2011, you saw the first altcoin with Namecoin pop up. And altcoins were just going crazy for a few years there. Then Ethereum came out in 2015. And then you had the ICO bubble in 2017, right? And I think Ethereum was kind of this like big changing point, adding smart contracts, letting people kind of add or build a product into this decentralized app store of Ethereum. It really pulled away a lot of those Bitcoiners into like a more, I guess you could say it's like an ecosystem that has more flexibility and more utility to it. And that causes a lot of animosity, right? Because now your community is being severed, right? So you have some people now casting their ideological beliefs at each other. People are saying, "Oh, right, you're a sellout," whatever the case is, and it caused a lot of friction. And that same idea happened with Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin Cash fork, 2017. It was a very contentious time. Nobody knew what was going to happen. You had miners in the Bitcoin Cash, camp. You had them spending billions of dollars to try to have this like minor extractive warfare against one another. And I think it caused a big decline in the Bitcoin culture. And now with ordinals, it's kind of revived that. Bitcoin it felt like it was dead. I mean, it was always there, but they always called it, right, the boomer coin. It was just something that implicit, simply exists. And to us, it feels simple, right? To anybody else outside of crypto, when they go into Bitcoin, they're like, what the fuck is this, right? Like what miners, what did verification, nodes, confirmations, what does all this mean? And now, as you see this new culture, it's kind of reviving Bitcoin. And we record this during the Bitcoin NFT conference. They allowed the ordinals in, right? Because it exists on Bitcoin. Now you're introducing this new type of thought. And it feels like the maximalist culture is now fading into the background. You have louder voices coming from the NFT ecosystem, right? Probably have a bunch of scammers who are going to come into it as well. But it is satisfying some of those core Bitcoiner beliefs of, right, decentralization, self-sovereignty. And if BRC-20s and ordinals exist on L1, right, there's like, it loses that type of territorialism, loses some of that impact, because everything that's being created is satisfying those. So so now you have this more there's friction. I would say this more vibrant community of creators and entrepreneurs from all these ecosystems coming in, trying to satisfy the OGs and trying to build these like decentralized products. And if you move outside of Bitcoin, the territorialism is just vying for number 2 in the smart contractor world, right? Ethereum hates Solana because Solana has threat to overtake them. It's the same thing as Bitcoiners hated Ethereum because Ethereum threats Bitcoin, right, to overtake number 1. And there's so many different philosophies that are intertwined within that animosity and contention that it's really hard to know directly what it is, right? It's kind of the same thing of Reddit versus 4chan. And I don't think you'll ever get territorialism away, especially in a completely digital economy where you have anons and pseudo anon accounts and LARPs and, right, grifters and all these different people who don't have to take essentially accountability on the words that they say or the capital that they invest, because they're hiding behind a screen, or they're creating this fake personality in essence. So it'll never go away. It just becomes who's the most powerful community and most powerful voices in those communities to help guide that ideology in the right direction. And to just kind of end it here, Bitcoiners are in this conversation, and Bitcoiners were led by the maximalist takes since 2017 after that Bitcoin Cash fork up until kind of like now. they still have loud voices, but they're turning, but it's fading. And so those loud voices for 4 or 5 years were in the driver's seat, and now they're not anymore. And so maybe there's another civil war that happens, but the culture is definitely changing. Territorialism, the viewpoint of it, is also changing as well. And I think as this idea of a multi-chain future becomes more fruitful, the ecosystem has more implementations, right? Emblem Vault, I'm just to pump my own bags, right? Emblem Vault is deployed on every chain. You could go take Solana NFTs and go sell them on Bitcoin. You could go take Bitcoin NFTs, go sell it on Cardano. I think once that ecosystem, right, bridges, or the idea of a bridge becomes much more secure, in those type of projects and tooling has frictionless experience, I think territorialism will fade, or at least the loud territorialism that prevents users from entering the space. I think that'll fade as well once that happens.
Jake, this has been great, man. I want to continue this honestly for another 1 hour. Maybe I can bring you back again onto the show. You have a wealth of knowledge, man. It's quite interesting to hear you talk because you're very, very sophisticated in your level of articulation. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your level of expertise, in the space, man. And where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, well, first, I appreciate you for having me on. I would love to come back. If you want to go another hour, dude, next time if we want to go 2-3 hours, always down. I used to record, so my podcast, I've done almost 270 episodes. I used to record like 3-hour episodes because I love like Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss's models when I had first started podcasting. And so I replicated it. Unfortunately, you realize that most people don't have that type of attention span, right? So it just becomes more just on the host and the guest of just connecting, and then maybe some of the most true fans. You can find me on Twitter, easy. Social media is just Jake Gallen, JakeGallen. Twitter, I'm most active. That's the best place to find me. But I also YouTube channel and podcast called Jake Gallen's Guest List. Comes with kind of the background of being born and raised in Las Vegas. YouTube, I'm on Instagram. But yeah, anybody who follows, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always down to help anybody, always down to have a conversation. As long as I'm not caught up in trying to find the next BRC-20 10,000 bagger,
Jake, man. Oh, one more thing too, man. I followed you on LinkedIn and no follow back, bro. What's up?
Bad. My bad. Did
What's up, man?
Dude, I rarely ever go on LinkedIn. So let me
okay. Yeah, man, check that out, man. I was so disappointed, man. Like I was crying on the sofa, super sad.
LinkedIn is the worst when it comes to like promoted DMs. Like the amount of those that I get where it's like, hey, I'm in Web3, let's talk and have a conversation. But it's just like an automated message. You get like literally hundreds of those a week. So it's just like my DM box is literally full. I'm just like, I can't even keep up with this because a lot of it's just like bots that are just automated to accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, just shoot me a message again on LinkedIn so it could come to the top of my message board and then
your spam board.
Dude, I'm telling you, if I showed the screen with like LinkedIn DMs, it's got to be at least like 50 like unopened ones. So
all right, man.
But there's some good content on LinkedIn. It's just it's become just a place of spam.
Yeah. All right, Jake, man, guys. So this has been another great episode of the Mooncast, man, and peace.
Love it. See you, Mooners.